All right, so I think we are live. Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be playing on my own ranked ladder that I programmed myself on my Discord, taking viewer suggestions to decide which builds I actually run. As you can see down below, there's going to be a new autumn season starting on the 18th of September, and with it comes a ton of new changes to the ladder. So, more reasons to play it right now, since yeah, there's quite a bit of new things. For one thing, it's much better than the quick battle system that CA has graciously implemented for us, and the things that make it better, it has full-on matchmaking based on your elo. It has, or actually based on the league that you are in, and it has multiple leagues now. So that's Master, Diamond, Platinum, Gold Renown, Gold, Silver with Renown, and Bronze with Renown. So there's like 9 different tiers that you can climb up. It'll tell you which section you are in and how much more elo you need to get to the next tier. So pretty in-depth. There's a lot of stats that you can pull from it too, such as your elo over time and your league points, which is a representation of roughly how much time you've put into the ladder. So pretty exciting, and today, yeah, we're just gonna have some fun. If you're watching in the VOD, you can skip ahead, and now I can finally go into chat. So let's see, Cyrus asking for a shade build. I think I will try that out. Let's see, but if I am going Dark Elves as a first pick, what should I ban? Very important question. Dark Elves did get nerfed as of the most recent patch. Can you try an infantry rush, no crabs vampire coast build? I'll try my best. Right now I am queued up onto the ladder, by the way, so feel free to stream snipe if that is in your intent. See Christopher Salzman saying good evening and greetings from Germany. Hey, sick. Always cool to have people from around the world watching. Oh boy, this should be pretty exciting. Hopefully I find a game sometime soon. How many monsters can Coast bring? Well, let's take a look. Could you get something that's 3 Mourngulls and several crabs? Well, let's see. Well, Sirens aren't monsters, but they are definitely quite strong. I think vodding Prometheans and the ones with the guns count as different units. This warrants a quick check. Let's see here, Vampire Coast. Yeah, they are actually different units. So if I wanted to do a big old crab rush, I could do this, followed by 4 Mourngulls like this. But then I wouldn't have a Lord. So that's why animated Holtz exists. There we go. If you want to go real budget, you do something like this. Then you take a really cheap Lord. Boom. Done. Here's your monster build. But yeah, first things first though, we need to decide the faction that I play. And we'll see how it goes. I think there's a way I can get people to vote on the channel. So for, let's see here. Let me see if I can do this. Pop out chat, toggle timestamps. Is there a way to do a vote? I know there's definitely a way you can do a vote, but I have no idea how. How does one vote? Let's see if I actually go to the video itself. Is there, oh, there we go. Create a poll, sweet. So I could do something like I poll you guys for, let's see, I saw some Dark Elves, and I saw some Coast. So let's see. Should I play VP first or Dark Elves? Alright, and then we're gonna do VP and Dark Elves. Boom, ask. Alright, nice. So there should be a poll up. I assume at some point I'll be able to see the answer. I have no idea where. Ah, there we go. There it is. Sweet. The YouTube system's a little bit janky, guys, unfortunately. But, such is the way of things. Okay, and then at some point I can close the poll. Cool, cool. It is blocking chat, though, which is the most annoying thing. What are people talking about? The vampire counts? I'd be happy to. You'd love to queue into me, but you prefer to watch and learn via video. No problem. Oh yeah, we got tons of people in chat. Let's see, let's throw up the banner again. I am still waiting on a match, but there are actually there's like 6 people on the ladder right now, so fairly busy. The problem right now is that there are a few tournaments going on. My son HW's tournament, by the way, great tournament host, is running right now. I think the finals are getting underway. And later today, Human Boy also going to have a tournament. So I jammed myself right in between the two. And I'm hoping that it all works out. And Vampire Coast wins, look at that. At 55%. Sweet. All right. You know it's possible, but you do not stream Vampire Coast always. Yeah, Vampire Coast always it's always the popular one here. That is what I am most known for. Oh, and I think yes, we have a match. All right, sweet. Hey, lobby is up. All right, so my opponent knows that the lobby is here. They should be joining shortly. I might need to grab my friend code for them though, because Warhammer things. And then we can get underway. 11 votes, 10 viewers. Yeah, people just they vote and they left apparently. What strange choices. The poll system is really janky, by the way. I might not be able to poll all the time. And I might just go based on whatever people are shouting at me. All right, so I saw someone wanted me to try a full infantry rush coast. We will see. We will see. I don't know how far into memes I want to go today, but I can probably do something pretty hard on the infantry rush side. In fact, if it's an infantry rush, should I go Sartosa? I feel like Sartosa is it's like the perfect setup for it. Hey, all right, sure. Pick first. Map set. Okay, so we got our opponent. We'll see what they decide to go for, and then I'll try some Vampire Coast. The goal for today is to just get a lot of experience in with a lot of other factions. I'm way too used to first picking Coast, and I gotta work my muscles a little bit for all the other factions. It's gonna be an Empire pick, banning dwarves and vampire counts, and I will go Sartosa. There we go, and it's done. It's done. We're gonna go for the full-on rush now. Interesting thing about Sartosan units, their Free Company militia have perfect vigor, which means that these guys are well, yeah, they're better than the Empire variant, and they're sort of like Sigvald in a very terrible way. Actually, even stranger, these guys have less damage than the pistol variant, but they do have you know, bonus versus infantry, which is pretty nice. They have more melee attack. So let's try it out. Depth guard meme, less armor than great swords because of full... Oh yeah, this game is terrible with that. Full suits of armor are garbage, but if you are an arachnid or a crab, then those hard shells really do pay off. 150 armor on the Leviathans, just crazy, man, crazy. Now, the plan today, I will still be going for, let's see, a bomber type infantry rush. That seems pretty good. Probably a ton of sirens and maybe a couple depth guard. It depends. In what situation do I want to use depth guard? They do have to avoid the Empire guys quite a bit. Like the range units, the huntsmen. So I feel like maybe pole arms on the flank are pretty cool. As an anti-large tool. It means I don't have to go gunnery whites to kill something like Volkmar. So that's nice. And then I can take discount Noctilus probably. And it doesn't even have to be vampires. I don't really need summons. I could go the Lore of the Deep. Or even the Lore of Death. Now, Lore of Death doesn't give me too many great options, but it does give Spirit Leech. Now, with Knights of the Blazing Sun, I think I'll pass. And since my lords are generally getting targeted here, I think just a normal Lore of Vampires for the heals, probably the best idea this time around. Let's go grab the debuff though. That's pretty important. Fit in some Depth Guard pole arms, feels very nice. Missing a little bit of gold, not as nice. Naked Goblin has 70 more armor than the guys in plate armor. See, the way I see it is that his chariot is what has the armor. People aren't attacking Grom. It's like, you know, with any mount. It's the mount that gives the armor, so it's a little bit more understandable. Let's see, do I want scurvy dogs here? I feel like almost assuredly yes. Let's see, I can also upgrade the Depth Guard into the Bloody Reaver's Deck Guard. Bloody Reaver Deck Guard. Oh my gosh, what a name. What a name. Sure, let's do it. Let's do it. We're full experimenting here today. I have a little bit of extra gold. And I could actually... Nah, I can't. Just barely can't do that, but I sort of like this build. It feels like it's almost there. Feels like it's almost there. It's a decent rush. Knights will have a hard time versus Sirens and Depth Guard. They're on the flanks, so archers can't hurt them as much. No chevron to dogs. Didn't I chevron them? I thought I just did. You might have just you might have typed that in right as I put them on. Maybe fat counts as... Oh, maybe fat counts as armor? Maybe. I thought you were talking fat as in, you know, the other way. Sort of like huge. But yeah, maybe. Your thickness can help. In the end, though, it's totally just a chariot, right? I need to compare with other chariot lords. Like, if you take Kazrak on his chariot, I wonder if his armor value actually changes. I would imagine it does. He typed it right before I chevroned it. Well, there you go. Alright. So, yeah, this should be pretty fun. Oh, by the way, guys, quick question. Real quick question. My webcam, do you think it's better in the top right, sort of here, or... Oh my gosh. I locked it in place 1 second. Where is it? There we go, webcams. Yeah, do you think the webcam is better here, or better on the left? If I'm on the left, when I look at chat, I'm looking at the battle, which is sort of weird, and when I'm looking at the screen, it's fine. If I'm looking this way, I don't know. But a commenter suggested that I moved it just so that you guys can see the mini-map. I'm sort of on the fence. Someone goes to stab Grom and just loses his sword in his gut. I wouldn't be surprised. Grom almost has like ogre levels of eating power, right? Almost, I think. I feel like ogres can out-eat Grom. Better on the left since I don't cover the map. Zypher, you were the one that that messaged me about it, right? I think you were anyways. So we'll see what everyone else thinks. I could definitely get used to it being on the left. My map is super small, by the way. Actually, it's the opposite. Grom doesn't eat now because of his troll flesh. Oh, he doesn't have to eat anymore? That's interesting. I guess that sort of makes sense. My Grom lore, obviously, falling behind. Put these guys on 3, 9. We got the dogs here. Webcam dead center. I like it. It's very intimate. But, you know, I'll figure it out after this game. We gave our opponent the good luck, have fun. We have the balance of power. Means that we are obviously very ahead. And what do we see for the Empire side? By the way, for this game, it is on the ranked ladder. The new season coming soon. For the first game of today, it's going to be up against our opponent, their name in the top middle. And they're going to be bringing in some great cannons against my coast. But as per the viewer suggestion, who asked me to go for an infantry rush style, I'm actually very well suited against great cannons. They're honestly not too problematic because I am presenting essentially no targets for them. A few do clip my depth guard, tiny bit of damage, but this map with its hills actually helps me out there a little bit. So I'm feeling pretty good. Other cannon shooting at my other depth guard. These guys, I only lost 2 models, which is quite nice. And there is a lot of Empire cavalry, but I'm fairly well suited to deal with them too. So the plan is to just simply rush with the bombers and then clean up the cavalry with my depth guard. Hopefully that all goes well. I got my melee lord here for the heals too. Very nice for my extremely elite unit tiers. Elite units here. Oh my gosh. And immediately off the bat, some archers fire away at my Sartosa Free Company militia. But you can actually dodge the first initial volleys by backstepping a tiny bit. So I will do exactly that. Make sure these guys take as little damage on the approach as possible. It's very important to make sure that you are controlling well here. Some of my dogs do get caught out by cavalry, unfortunately. But I do just barely manage to get them out of there. So feeling pretty good on that front. Sirens now collapsing in on the sides, with an eye, very close eye, being kept on the what's it? Possible magic damage that can come down from the Bright Wizard. We do not want him causing too many issues here. Depth guard are gonna move in. There we go, there's the magic damage. Sirens will pull away to safety. That means that the left flank is going to be a lot more safe now. And as the bombers get close to the front line, I should be able to start cleaning up these Empire forces. These Sirens, they're going to get a heal from my Lord. I will have to pull him in to support a tiny bit, but right now the Empire front line is having a pretty rough time. Once the archers are down, I think the depth guard will have a great time cleaning everything up. Volkmar is getting pretty beat up too. And I have my dogs in the back waiting to catch everything out. I do lose a little bit of the front line though in the center, but I think once my Lord gets there to support, I should be okay. The dogs too for cleanup are great. They also help distract the cavalry, so I think that should work out quite well. And the depth guard have successfully defeated the first flank of knights coming in towards me. So I think so far I'm in a fairly good place. Balance of power has shifted to the side of the Empire though, so perhaps not. We'll have to be a little bit careful here and make sure that the bombers are connecting as well as possible. Sirens just chasing off cavalry where they can. And there's a little bit of a worry that the knights here will be able to really crush my forces. So it really depends on how well the depth guard do. And having not really experimented with them much, I'm not entirely sure, but it seems like they're doing pretty well for themselves. Another great thing about the human coast is that, well, a lot of the forces here, they'll rally instead of actually disintegrating. And against things like Burning Head, it's really nice to have a few guys coming back in the later stages of the battle, like these guys able to chase off those units of infantry. That should be helping me out a ton. In the meantime, my Sirens will need to be kept at fairly high HP, but most of my heals are actually going to go on the depth guard. The reason depth guard is because late game Volkmar is the main threat, and Sirens do terribly verse him. And instead I'm going to try bogging him down in my very elite halberds to try and win the day. Big ol' oh, I forget what that thing is called. Soulfire and Bombardment does drop, but thankfully it just hits my Lord, so he's fairly good. My Depth Guard can finally dive in. I'll bog him down with a few zombies too. And then I think I should be in a fairly good place. I have quite a bit of my army left currently, which is really nice. I have 2 units of Depth Guard alive. These guys will get some damage resistance so that they don't die to that big old burning head. And then my Lord, he will simply heal himself so that he doesn't get completely obliterated. Banishment does hit. Puts in a little bit of damage, but nothing too worrisome. And I think the Empire should be hitting army losses soon with a fairly successful build. I did lose a lot of Depth Guard to the Banishment, but all in all, yeah, the rush worked pretty well. Especially against the Empire Knights. These guys, they just tore them apart, getting in quite a bit of value, even more than the Sirens even. And it was sort of just a march forwards and attack build. So not too bad, not too bad. A lot of my Sortosa militia did decently too. They did very okay. I'm still not sold on these guys, but you know, it's something. They did damage for sure. They help chase off units though, which is always nice. But yeah, GG. I think if you were to go this build, probably don't go Sartosa. This guy being Noctilus would be better. And then cut these guys for normal zombies. Especially the Halberd variant. They're just way better. GG. No problem. Alright, so my opponent has to tap out, which means I get to take the win. Very nice. And nice, I am in the top 4. Yeah, I'm in the top 4 of all players on the ranked ladder now. Sweet. So let's go ahead and queue up again and see what we can do. Next up, I think Shades is on the list. Someone wanted me to play some Dark Elves. So that should be pretty nice. And we matched up against Blood Penguin. You're excited to jump on the ladder tonight? Yo, that's sick. Oh man, so much work has gone into... Let's see, am I doing that right? Whoops. Penguin. There we go. Yeah, so much work has actually gone into the ladder. I posted called Enticity. Yeah, I've been grinding out the code for like 4 days now. Just adding in a ton of features so that the ladder is ready for its relaunch on the 18th. And man, oh man, is it exhausting. I'm happy that I can finally sit down and play some games on the ladder now. Feels pretty good. 10 out of 10 updates on the ladder. Thank you very much, Tiago. Alright, so no one's really talking about the webcam. I guess I will switch it then. It can't be that bad, right? Let's see, where is it at? Webcam. Boom, we have moved. Let's see, I gotta make sure that it's aligned correctly. Does that look about right? There we go. Alright, we got a new location for the webcam. Sick. Oh, you guys can't see chat now. So let's move it. Let's move chat to the right side. That feels right. Hey. Alright, the map is the Desert's Bounty. Your pick first. There we go. Looks good. Sweet. Sweet. Unwatchable now. No K, no gain. Hot takes. Yeah, I think it's okay. This actually, in all seriousness, I know you're fooling around, but yeah, not a bad position. Looking this way doesn't feel too bad. My directionality has to be switched, so if I'm pointing at stuff in the center, I point this way instead of this way. All right. Oh, and Blood Penguins is going Empire, banning dwarves and beastmen. Well, sick. Let's go Dark Elves. Dark Elves. All right. I'm so used to the chat being here. I thought it wasn't open. and I was spam clicking that. This is, it's sort of weird for me to have chat in a different section, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. Now, Blood Penguin is in Masters, which means that this is going to be a little bit of a harder fight. They are in the top 3% of all players, so I'll have to be a little bit careful here. I will use I will take fairly liberal usage of shades, though. That's right, Druchi! You're just so out of practice, you keep putting off getting back into Warhammer multiplayer. See, the good thing about the ladder, though, now that we have matchmaking, you will face people in your general skill level, which is pretty nice. It works mostly for the people in silver to bronze, but overall, you should be finding much more close matches nowadays. Oh, and I almost forgot. Special thanks to all of our sponsors for the ladder. Let's see if I can do this right. Yeah, special thanks to the ladder sponsors. All of these guys have contributed in some way to the ladder. Human Boy, yes, specifically having spent a lot of money on hosting events, but actually causing the ladder to spike rather dramatically in players. So check them out on their Discord. They host a lot of community-driven events. You got the actual event sponsors, like AC Maiden and Red Wedding Planner, who have funded specific events that'll be happening weekly. And, you know, Nectar, I don't know how to say their name, but they, them and the Central Scrutinizer have also provided a little bit of support. So huge thanks to them while I set up my build. But yeah, it's great. Absolutely amazing the amount of support that I'm getting. It really does let me host a lot more events than usual. And also, by the way, if anyone wants to actually support the ladder, you can do so simply by DMing me, and then I can, you know, get you in contact with tournament winners and so on, if you want to help contribute to the prize pool. But of course, it is all optional. Now, against Empire here, there are a few ways to play it. Friends can be a little bit of a problem. Let's see, I had a build, I think, and I will adapt that to sort of use shades a tiny bit more. Yeah, here we go. So it would go for repeater crossbows, but I don't think they're fully needed. Malekith on his dragon, just a huge combat fighter. Breath attacks and so on. He'll help win the cavalry fights. And then I need to fit in some shades as my main support. Now, I don't have a lot of cavalry. In fact, I don't have a lot of infantry in general either. But I think with the help of Malekith and shades, I should be okay. Unless the Empire player here goes for a lot of, you know, a lot of infantry, or not a lot of infantry. Unless they go for a ton of cavalry, I should be winning these mobility fights, but we'll have to see. Cold One, Malekith plus Corsair Rush. It's cool, it's an idea to try out. For now though, we are trying the shade suggestion from earlier. We'll see how it goes. I feel like this build checks out fairly well though. I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, after this game, I'll be taking all the old suggestions from people to see whatever you guys want to see. So, you know, choosing factions and so on. But, you know, the poll is still going on. I thought I closed that ages ago. Let me check. Can I end poll? Oh, I'm sorry. It was just sitting on Vampire Coast for the past forever, and no one pointed it out. Come on, guys. What is it called? Oh, what's it called? It's like, oh wow, Dark Elves actually won it in the end. Would you look at that? What's the thing where it's like you stand off? It's like the something bias. I forget. It's lost to me. I'll remember it sometime tonight when I'm trying to fall asleep, I guess. But anyways, here we go. We got a fairly nice front line. This will win against basically all standard Empire front lines. If there are great swords, they will lose to simple cavalry rushes. Shades, an amazing tool. Extremely high DPS, will be supporting any side of the army that they need to. Specifically Malekith and my cavalry most of the time. With the Slaanesha's harvesters coming in. That will hopefully be able to turn the tides of cavalry fights with the good old Soul Stealer. Good luck, have fun. Man, chat, such a weird position. But anyways, yeah, that's the gist of the build. Minimap is in the top right for your viewing pleasure. And this feels like a pretty good build. I don't usually play with shades a lot, but I like the idea, guys. And if anything, having streams like this will really be good for improving my general diversity of factions and units that I play with. Because that's one problem that I find a lot. If I'm making builds myself, I will generally have a few gaps in the build that are exploited by people. Like very little anti-air, for example, is pretty common. Actually, probably the most common thing. And then I just get completely screwed over. A lot of anti-cavalry tools too, so... yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. Now, as the game gets started, my last opponent did have to leave. So we are playing against Blood Penguin now, another master level player coming in as the Empire with actual mortars in their build. That's interesting. Can be easily dodged early game by simply pulling back with your infantry, then walking forwards again once the first shots land. I have a shade build with cavalry support. It's very similar to my usual build. I just replaced a couple units. There are quite a few crossbowmen that I will have to worry about though. Actually some free company militia, which is pretty strange. But I think I should be able to easily outrange the Empire here. The mortars don't pose a huge threat and don't really require me to advance a whole ton. And let's see, I'm thinking about moving these shades to just kill off the crossbowmen. Seems like a fairly good plan. As I slowly move up my forces, Malekith can advance too, and the silver bullets have revealed themselves. And my opponent is pulling back to find a slightly safer position, sort of baiting me into the gunfire a little bit. But I think right off the bat, Malekith can get some pretty nice damage on the silver bullets. They might actually get a pretty solid hit on Malekith too, though. So I will have to pull back a little bit. Sigmar Suns are being a little bit of a problem too. And the plan right now is to get my cavalry engaged so that I can get a little bit more damage in. Malekith, he's going to be fighting against Franz. I think it's Franz anyways. Should be able to win the fight since I do have a unit of shades supporting him. He is taking a little bit of damage though, so I will have to throw down a big old Soul Stealer here, and hopefully I can catch out some cavalry. In the meantime, the silver bullets are going to be a little bit of a threat, and I will want to be shutting them down with my infantry if possible. That's probably the least risky option, but there are quite a few knights coming on in that will be causing me some issues. The shades have taken a lot of damage too, having gone a little bit too close to the range of these Empire units, so it's a little bit of a scary fight. These Empire knights too are going to be a tiny bit problematic. Balance of power is in my favor, but the battle's definitely rather close. Still though, the Slaanesha's harvesters do get a fairly nice impact, charging away some of these knights. I think that should help quite a bit. Some Corsairs are supporting too. And if I can get my shades to kill off these Empire Knights, I think that would be the best case scenario. The fact that the silver bullets still live though is pretty bad, and as you can see they are getting in a lot of damage onto my forces. The shades too, although their range is nice, they are taking a little bit of a beating. And it's starting to look pretty bad here on my end, having not been able to shut down all of these silver bullets. Franzo getting a lot of healing too from the caster here. He's going to be a bit of a threat. I will be able to hopefully shut down the silver bullets at least, but we've both more or less lost our cavalry. I think the Empire still has a little bit more though, and even though I did barely win the frontline fight, it wasn't by a lot. And that's going to be causing me a few issues here, as I do need my front line spilling forwards to win this. Malekith now fighting Franz, having a little bit of a rough duel. He's taking a lot of crossfire, and I think this match is barely going to go the way of the Empire with some nice ranged defense. There's not a whole ton I can do at this point. GG to Blood Penguin. Nice game, fairly close, but in the end my front line just wasn't able to push through. I'm not sure actually what was causing them to lose so badly though. I guess it was the Flagellants that did okay. If you take a look at the Corsairs, they only got a decent amount of damage. But also a few range shots were pretty brutal too. All of the range units paid for themselves on the Empire side, and the Shades, they did okay too. There was a lot of back and forth with very similar builds on both sides. But in the end, the Empire did just barely manage to edge me out. Just barely. So GG. Yeah, Too Fast, Too Friends, Blood Penguin coming in with the win. And now I ask you guys, which faction should I first pick with? I will take the first faction that is typed in chat that has bans. So let me know. Give me a faction and 2 bans. Preferably not a meme though, because I do want to be winning games. Skaven, Beastman, Skaven. Okay, there we go. Skaven, ban, Chaos, and Tomb Kings. Chaos and Tomb Kings. It's done. All right, the map is a chill flow. Very large, flat map. Fun for Skaven, for sure. So let's see how it goes. Where is it at? Boom, Skaven. Now, Skaven, not exactly a very meta faction nowadays, but I don't think they're as weak as you might think. They definitely have a lot of tools from all the DLCs that have been added to them, but many of the tools aren't especially meta, especially since they did get nerfed recently. They're not as strong as they used to be. And my opponent will be picking Beastmen, which is pretty fun. So now I ask upon you guys once again, what build do you think will be good here? There's a couple builds that I can go against Beastmen. The Kite build is very good. Heavy elite infantry spam can also be surprisingly strong. You know, if there's like a specific unit type you'd like me to run, that can be done too. I think, let's see, I think for sure Wolf Rats are pretty fun. Warriors of Chaos, please. Echoes, you're way too late for that. Death Runners against Beastmen? Now that's strange. Full Kite. Monster Mash. Alright, let's see. I'll choose between Full Kite and Monster Mash then. Skaven Rush. Okay. We'll do a poll. We'll do a poll. Here we go. Build. Let's see. Kite. Fight. Or what was the last one? Kiting, fighting, and... Well, yeah, actually, those are the 2 options, so... let's see. Is there only 2? There we go. There we go. We're choosing between kiting or fighting. The vote is up. And while I set up some basics of the build, you guys can choose away at what I decide to go for. There's a few options. I will end the poll in 10 seconds. Let's see. There are a few basics that are good in both situations, like Skaven Slave Slingers. Just an extremely cost-efficient unit. They pay for themselves almost all the time. It's great. Alright, ending the poll. And then I have to end the poll again or something. I'm not sure exactly how this works. Close poll. So what, does it show it now? There we go. We got 63% of the people saying that they want a fighty build. So that's pretty cool. I will run a single Death Runner just to see how it goes. To see over nerf Brood Horrors, they only cost 100 more. I think they might have lost mass or something, but they're more or less the same. Skaven are mid-tier now, mostly because... According to the rules... Sadly, yes. But yeah... I will try out a monster mash too. Brood horrors they're not that much weaker. But I think at this point there could be a few better options. Now, you guys are requesting a monster mash. The Hellpit Abomination can have a little bit of a hard time versus the forces of the Beastmen, just because of the new fire damage options. So I'll probably go something else. Brood's lost missile resist too. That's pretty rough. That makes them real squishy. They don't have a lot of armor. You think they're cool and would like to see me use them? I'll take one then. The theme of today is Monster Mash, so I'm counter-rushing the Beastmen this time around. Which means a little bit of elite infantry will go a long way. Let's see, Eshin Triads could be pretty good too, but for my hero core, there aren't a ton of great monsters here. I think Skrulk is definitely a fairly good option here, but perhaps Snicket just a little bit better. With that net Deathmaster sigil, you can pin down Torox, make him a little bit less maneuverable. I can also go for some Chieftains, which is sort of like the hidden paladins of Skaven. They got Guardian, they got fairly strong combat stats. They should be able to fight quite well. And I can take another monster to more or less round out the build. I'm thinking... Well, let's see. I will take Wolf Rats with poison. At least one of them, just because it's always a good idea. Warp Grinder. That's interesting. If he doesn't time his engagement right, that could work really well. A Spirit Leech will kill it, which is pretty scary. But you know, I'll run one. I'll run one just to try it out. Now for my last monster, what do I get? Just get the Morskatar's Hellion? Do I? That's not a terrible idea, is it? Let's see, a Snicketch Assassin combo might be better, but I'll try this out. Let's see. Morskatar's Hellion is tempting though. What does it got? It has a Vortex. It adds cooldowns to things, I think. I'm not sure which of the abilities actually does that. Oh yeah, it's this one. Yeah, this is Zap effect. Let's see if I can squeeze out a little bit more money and then slam her in. There we go. Nice and clean. Ooh, can I get the sweet perfect spend? No, I can't, but this should do. I got myself 2 monsters. I got my chieftains, some dogs, a hefty front line. 0 magic, yes. That's right. Magic. A common mistake for myself. When will I learn? I have no idea. But there you go. We're gonna go it's all for corn. This is my new corn army. Oh my gosh, my door is going crazy. 1 second. Oh wait, here we go. Nevertheless, you know, Skaven magic is overrated. You don't need it anyways. Let's see. When you love your build, it means you forgot a caster. Yeah. If you ever try out hero shenanigans, it happens a lot. You thought I knew what I was doing, so you never asked about the caster? Nah, you guys give me too much credit. Corn, I said. Corn. My gosh, Black Phillip. Not here. This is not the time for Slanesh. Alright, now let's get the army set up. I got a pretty nice loadout here. I have a lot of different tools with pretty fast mobility. In fact, I have a single entity squad ×4, which is like fairly high for Skaven standards. Usually, you know, you have a tiny hero squad, but in terms of mass on your single entities, It's pretty rare to see something like this. Death Runners too, they're going to be in the back to surprise some fools that try to sneak around. I have a Warp Grinder. Amazing tool for shutting down targets. Is this legal? I remember there's something about nets in the rules. I forget. Let's see here. Net. Total of 2 nets. Only 1 can be targetable. Cool. So Warp Grinder's fine. Wonderful. And yeah, we got the hero squad. We got Snicketch. What could possibly go wrong here? Probably a few things, but I'm still fairly confident. Let's just get this guy on 2. Let's get these guys on the army hotkey. There we go. And good luck, have fun. It's not time for Slaanesh means it's double Slaanesh time. Is that how it works? I feel like no, but anyways, our opponent's ready. They have a fairly small army. We got the elite army count. And we're just going to be advancing and going in for the big fight. Now, there are Tuskor chariots for my opponent. Chaos Spawn, Blood Penguin is up 1 game, by the way, and Feral Manticores. But lucky me, I've actually spent quite a bit more money on my single entities than my opponent. And aside from the Chaos Spawn, I think I should be trading fairly well with this squad. My front line is quite elite too. And even though we do see Gore Herd, the support of my Plague Monks should be quite great, I think. Now, immediately off the back, this Tuskor Chariot's moving on in to try and push through my elite infantry. We do not want that. And a couple Centaurs are here too that will be charging some of my guys. But I do have my very elite hero squad nearby. They'll be able to assist. And if I can poke away at these Manticores, I think that should be a fairly good start. We have pushed back the cavalry, which is quite good. And I'm going to send in Snicketch onto the Manticores now. With the Warp Grinders and now pinning down those Tuskor chariots. That's actually very nice for me, as it means that my hero squad can shut them down. And so far, I think it's a fairly nice start for this match. My clan rats will be advancing forwards, since they definitely do not want to, well, since they want to be shutting down these archers. And then Snicketch, he can throw down the snare onto Torox, and then I can start laying into them with my army. I have a huge single entity squad. We just routed off a lot of the Manticores. So Torox is going to be getting in quite the beating right now. Some slows from my forces too should be helping out. And for my dogs, you can start chasing off units. These Centaurs, although quite scary, aren't the worst thing in the world, as I do have some Death Runners nearby to catch them. And I think so far the infantry fight is even going quite well for me. Some Plague Monks, I'll just send them into combat. And then as soon as Torox's ability wears off, I think I can start focusing him with my heroes. Centaurs too having a pretty rough time versus the Death Runners. Very nice for me. I have lost one of my monsters, unfortunately. The Torox, his stat buffs have run out. Now the big monster fight, there is a lot of support from the Chaos Spawn now, which is pretty unfortunate, as they are rather difficult to take down. Snicketch is still alive though, so I should be able to give Torox at least a little bit of a run for his money. I will want to shut down these archers though, since they will be causing a little bit of damage to my big old monsters here, and we definitely don't want that. Snicketch still focusing Torox. He's getting in pretty good damage, but with all of those Chaos Spawn, it's definitely going to be a little bit sketchy. The Slingers are getting a lot of damage on them, but I'm not sure how well this is gonna go. Another spell from Snicketch should be able to help there. Warp Grinders. Going to try and catch out some of the cavalry. Sadly, they are not able to. And Snicketch still having he's gonna be having a little bit of his work cut out for him, as the Monster Blob for the Beastmen is going to be winning the fight. Against all odds, those Chaos Spawn, I think they really did help push quite a bit. Torox, though, he is extremely low now. And it is a possibility for a comeback if I can actually shut him down. But I don't think my forces can easily collapse in on him at this point. I do still have a lot of my Slingers, which is nice. But it's gonna be a rough one. Snickage doing his best to try and push through. He doesn't have any mass, so it's going to be a little bit of an uphill fight. Balance of power has been very even for the majority of the battle. And let's see. Torox actually does re-engage onto Snickage, surprisingly enough. I do have my Brood Horror too, and I do finally have some infantry coming in to assist, but it depends on how well Snickage does. He's having a very rough time, actually now, getting down to about a third of his HP. His leadership is really high though, and the Brood Horror does dive on in. The Warp Grinders, with their mighty, like 100 damage value, should be able to support fairly well too, and Torox has to disengage. Now, if he does manage to get the disengage, he won't be dying, and he won't be routing either, as Torox has fairly insane leadership. And with the balance of power going into the favor of the Beastmen now, I think the Beastmen will be able to win it. Although, still a rather close game. Perhaps if I had magic, it would have been a little bit better for me. And actually, I think Squolk might have been a better option, surprisingly enough, instead of Snickage. But a fairly nice game. But the Beastmen will be winning it. GG! And GG's. And that will be the best of 3 going to Blood Penguin. Ooh, some fairly close games, but I think they had the lead for the majority of it. The initial picks on the Manticores were fairly good, but they did actually rally in the end and cause a lot of trouble. The Brood Horror and the Morskatars didn't really do well, as they didn't have a lot of time to cycle charge either. And the dogs actually did well out of all things. Slingers too, amazing unit, absolutely great. Plague Monk's not a bad option either, especially winning that frontline fight, I think was a fairly good idea. Had I played this matchup differently, I probably would have avoided that main engagement with the single entities until later on. With the Manticore summons, it was just a little bit too much. Alright, see ya. Let's go ahead and report the loss and then queue up into the next match. Alright. Alright. So, what do we got? We got, well, we actually don't match into anyone, so we gotta wait for a little bit. But as soon as we find someone to play verse, we can get underway. I think the melee build, it almost worked. If I refined it a little bit more, I think I could have won it. There we go. Thing is set. Yeah, Squolk is pretty fun. It's close enough to consider a win. I would not say that, but let's see here. Avoiding the fight definitely would have helped me out quite a bit, because my infantry was winning the other engagements. So I could have just picked off, you know, the chariots or something as they were moving around. Probably would have done better. Squolk, very good tool too. Let's see, but I really did need a way to deal with the Manticores. A Warlock Engineer would have been another option with the, where is it? With the Howling Warp Gale, Overcast, you can stun a flying unit for 30 seconds. It's really good against Manticores, especially when you consider the price. But it can be a little bit, you have to be very on point with casting it. Alright, and we found our next opponent. It's gonna be Sonath. Lobby is up. Called Enticity. There we go. Our opponent should be in just a second. And then we can figure out what we're doing now. I am first picking. So if someone in chat wants to give me a pick and ban, I will take it. Just give me those 2 bans. Too bad AoE bug got fixed, made Flensing Ruin mad again. I guess. Ah, yes, good old Gelt. Well, we'll be returning to the wind spell meta. The ever fun wind spell meta. But yeah, I feel like somewhere, if AoE spells just got a little bit of a buff, that would be pretty exciting. Just don't buff Soul Stealer, basically. Alright, and the map is going to be Tower of Hoeth. Sweet. Empire, Ban Counts, and Dowie. Alright, here we go. Empire Band Count to Dowie. Should be fun. Let's see. The Tower of Hoeth. There we go. Map set. And we are playing Empire. Cool. Alright, so this is a matchup I wanted to practice a little bit. Empire against Chaos. Pretty good. But what build will we be going? It's up to you to decide and me to refine it so that I don't lose. Unlike last time where I completely forgot my caster. Alright. One day we will have a Vortex meta. Maybe if they cost half the price. But what units do you guys want me to bring? There's a few builds that you can go with Empire. You know, I'll take the first few suggestions and then work around that. I'm assuming friends, but if you give me a lore choice, I will swap over. But the classic is, you know, you go friends and a caster. You can't really go too wrong there. Regrowth too, absolutely amazing on them. Vortexes are a thing in 2v2s, that's true. With larger armies, vortexes do get more efficient. Especially the more disorganized your opponent gets. But let's see, units guys, units. Take Demogryph Knights, asking for a Luminarch? No, it's not too much. Let's see here, where is it at? A Luminarch of Hish. Take the Templehof Luminarch. That will be eating up a lot of my money. But still fairly good, and I think that's basically going to decide how I set up my build. Things will mostly just be revolving around defending it for as long as possible, so I will definitely need a lot of infantry, spearmen, Sigmar Sons, maybe a single flagellant to help hold the line, tons and tons of state troops, and then a little bit to actually damage the Chaos. So their own infantry is going to be a bit scary. I think Knights of the Blazing Sun are fairly good support here. And then probably, you know, some sort of range unit to actually help defend. Maybe a single silver bullet, but I'm already defending the Luminarch. So that's actually a little bit overkill, and I will do something different. Let's see, you know what, I'll go double Pistoliers. You can't really go wrong with that. They defend themselves and they provide the range damage that I'm looking for. So pretty good. Pretty good. Now, the cavalry control is going to have to be on point. Franz will have to do quite well for himself if he wants to live. And let's see, yeah, my front line is a little bit questionable. Chaos will generally win the frontline fights pretty hard. So unless the Luminarch gets some good damage on the hero, I'm going to be gonna have a little bit of a run for my money. But the Luminarch will have a lot of time to use its ammunition. This is a lot more infantry than I would traditionally bring. So it's fairly good. I have 2 unbreakable units for my front line too, which is nice. I will put these swordsmen in the second line in case units are slipping through. That way my front line will actually hold a little bit longer. We got the Luminarch, Franz, the wizard, on a horse. I guess it wasn't exactly needed for him to be on a horse, but not too bad. And then my knights just chilling in the center to support. It's pretty good. Good luck, have fun to my opponent. Luminarch, 2,000 gold for 2 close range nets. And an attack that ruins entirely on dreams. That runs entirely on dreams. Okay, I see. Yeah, it costs like exactly 2,000 though. But yeah, the Luminarch, you gotta hope a little bit because sometimes it will miss, which is pretty bad for such a high damage unit. Definitely not something you want happening. Right off the bat, I will shoot at these dragon ogres and then use the Pistoliers to deal with the Maraud horsemen. Now the Chaos front line, infantry, tons of great weapons. I don't want to be charging them for sure. Instead, I want to be focusing on charging the Marauders. A couple Marauder horsemen on the left, going to be slowing that down a little bit. Then my Pistoliers, they should be able to win against the Horsemen. A little bit of miss micro from me. I do actually take a decent volley from the Horsemen. Tiny bit unfortunate, but not too bad. Luminarch getting in some more shots against the Dragon Ogres. We will test its might now. Slams into one, kills a single model. Amazing. Not the best situation in the world, but you know, it's still okay. My Knights of the Blazing Sun too, charging into the Chaos Forces. Doing well for themselves, and I'm going to reposition my infantry a little bit since Chaos is actually more focused on the other flank. Luminarch now going to switch on over to Archaon since he is in range. Pistoliers firing at the Horsemen, getting in some damage, and I'm actually going to send a few spears to deal with them now. Let's go ahead and throw a regrowth on these Knights too, just to pick them up a tiny bit. Pull back with the Pistoliers and then get the Knights to actually support there. Franz will be fighting off the Dragon Ogre, I think, while the Sigmar Sons are going to be holding off most of the front line. Now, Archaon, he's a pretty scary guy. I don't want Franz to take too much damage from him for sure. And if I can get the charge on him, that would be optimal. I'll wait for the... for this thing to shoot first. It misses, unfortunately. That's going to be a little bit bad, as... I would much rather it be hitting its targets, but it does mean that the Dragon Ogre is a little bit out of position, and Franz can cause some damage there. My Knights are doing okay too, getting in a pretty nice surround on the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Perfect time for a heal too. And I do eat a burning head on the Sigmar Sons, but at least the Luminarch is still up and ready to go. I will target it on the Dragon Ogre. Seems like I've done an okay job dealing with the Marauder Horsemen too, but Archaon putting the beating on Franz. Franz is gonna have to disengage here. Hopefully he doesn't get hit again. If he does, that's gonna be a little bit scary. And I should also probably throw down the net so that these Dragon Ogres don't cause too many issues. There we go. Franz does manage to get the disengage. I get the net down, and then I can throw a regrowth onto Franz, and then have him dive into Archaon. Meanwhile, I'll bring in the other Knights of the Blazing Sun to support. As long as Archaon doesn't kill Franz here, I should be okay, but let's not speak too soon as Franz takes a little bit of a beating from Archaon. Dragon Ogres too are going to be very scary. And he will be charging the Luminarch again. This does line up some really nice charges from Franz though, and that's going to be my main claim to fame here. Getting in really nice engagements onto Archaon, getting actually landing 2 hits back to back. That's very good for Franz. But Archaon does once again turn around, and it looks like he will be putting the beating back onto him. I do have a couple units to support, but it's going to be pretty close, and if Archaon gets a big charge on Franz, that would be quite bad. Especially since I don't have a lot of knights to support. I will be bringing in some of my forces, boosting up his melee defense, and hopefully I can block Archaon's charge. It's going to be really close. He does connect with Franz, and I'm hoping that the Luminarch is able to take him out here. If Franz does die, that would be almost assuredly a loss, and he does. Oh boy, that's not good. Archaon is pretty beat up though. I don't have much else to kill him, however, except for the Luminarch, which is not able to get its shot off, unfortunately. Archaon does slam into it, and I think that will be game. Unfortunately. Oh, man. Rough game, but GG to Sona. I think in the end, the Luminarch just a little bit too jank. Now, I could have used the net earlier, which would have actually gotten it a little bit more value. Oh, but look at that. 200 gold value on the Luminarch, having missed a couple of shots. I think it only landed like 2 shots over the course of the whole game. And maybe only 1 actually. It hit the Dragon Ogres once, it missed them once, it missed the Shaggoth, and it wasn't able to shoot at Archaon. That's absolutely brutal. And in the end, I think probably... Well, if I had to go for the Luminarch, probably landing the nets is more important too. But also very important. Actually I think just not running it is probably better, but I feel like I could almost make it work. The cavalry did well for themselves. The Pistoliers did fairly well too. Frontline also traded decently. And honestly, this was the only thing that didn't do great. Still a very fun tool to use though. So now, taking the first win. Will he take the second? GG. Next map is going to be the Lost Crater. Where is it? Where is it at? Boom, Lost Crater. And once again, faction guys. Well, actually, we're going to see his picks and bans first, and then we'll choose the faction. Nice to catch one of your streams. How is life going? Hey, Samurai Warrior. Nice to see you. It's going pretty well. We're relaunching the Ent-Ladder very soon. Okay, Lizardmen, ban Coast and Wood Elves. Throw in your factions now. But yeah, it's been going really well. I've been doing a lot of programming for the Ent-Ladder, so I'm pretty tired from all of that, and I'm happy to be streaming once again. Could you ask for a special Hellebron Witch Rush? Yeah, let's see. It's Lizardmen. Hellebron Witch Rush. Does that work against Lizardmen? Maybe. Bring nets and comets. In the current rules, you can only bring one net. Oh, bringing nets and not comets. I see. Yeah, you know what? Let's go with Samurai Warrior's request since he's coming into the stream. Let's go for the Dark Elves and go for a Hellebron Witch build. So Cauldron of Blood, actually a fairly nice tool against infantry, but does it die to other Lizardmen tools? I think it does, and I probably want the more mobile Manticore here. It doesn't really work versus Lizardmen. It's too late now. Let's see, we got the direct damage aura. Sort of like a Mortis Engine effect. I could take magic resist too. Against something like, you know, solar engines, that's actually not terrible. Tons of rampage abilities, which I don't really need. And then a little bit of extra damage boost. That's pretty expensive, we'll cut that too. Making her quite cheap. Except for these two, which I think are the most important. Now, I won't go as far as Medusa, since I'm experimenting with, you know, with Witch Elves right now. I do think Sisters of Slaughter are pretty cool, though, with the main worry being that I need to not die to, you know, skink skirmishers. That would be the worst case scenario, and one good way to deal with them. Either copious amounts of light cavalry or chariots, or maybe both. These guys will lose to solar engines over the course of the game and won't exactly trade well, so maybe I will go for sort of a Dark Rider style of play. If you guys have any suggestions in chat, I'll take them. Luminarch really needs a big target. Yeah, something like a mammoth. Plus 24 melee attack AoE helps with the front line. Let's see which one. This one or this one? There's two of them. One's an AoE, one's self. This one. Sure, yeah, we'll take it. Sounds good. Why not both? I don't have money for both. If I could, I would. But I do have my Dark Riders. Quite nice. Could take a Manticore too if I wanted a little bit of a single entity power, or maybe just a single bolt thrower. In fact, two bolt thrower is not bad, especially dealing with solar engines. But solar engines, I'm sort of going for a rush here. That's more or less what this army is doing. Let's see. Just get some more money. Oh, if only. If only. I think that's what everyone's trying to do. Let's see. I do like going for a little bit more single entity fighting power. You have nothing versus pterodons. Ah, thank you very much. Harpies, yes. Harpies are important. This is what I mean, an often forgotten fact. Oh, and a caster. Hellebron is not a caster. There you go. Number 2. All right, let's throw in the caster real quick. Let's see, what do we want? We'll take a spell, Singer of Beasts. We'll give her the usual kit. Let's see. You know, this hex isn't too terrible. Minus 24 melee defense. I'll take it. It will be competing for the Manticore in terms of Winds of Magic, but maybe I'll only get one Manticore. And then I will take 2 Harpies to not die to area units. There you go. No gain, no gain. Looking for blood. Oh my gosh, wanting to see some no caster losses. That'd be pretty brutal. Yeah. But I think I'm a little bit more set now. Need some AP to kill dinos. I'm hoping that the Witch Elves will be able to do it. Alright, now, Chameleon Skinks, probably going to be the scariest thing here. Out of everything. I don't have any ranged tools, which means that I'm not exactly shooting anything. So, big monsters, going to be a little bit scary. My main tool to deal with them is going to be the glorious Witch Elves. And then Sisters of Slaughter to hopefully dominate the front line. They do have bronze shields along with physical resist, so they actually take like half damage from the from ranged attacks. And that's going to be helping me out a little bit. My caster will get a Manticore summon and then a debuff AoE, which will hopefully be able to win the majority of single entity fights, but we'll see how this actually goes. My army is fairly small against a large lizardman force. It could be a lot of skinks. And against a lot of ranged, well, this could be pretty bad. If there is a lot of range, the goal is to keep my cavalry alive. If I can do that, then I'll be good. 2 Harpies and no ranged can save you in the air. Yeah. Chameleons are not excellent versus Dark Elves. You much prefer Stalkers. Oh yeah, Stalkers. With their, they have really good DPS against single entities. And against something like Helibron, it means venturing past my infantry front line is going to be a very bad idea. But here we go. Game number 2 against Sonath. Against this Lizardman, I'm bringing a Dark Elf build. I remembered to bring my caster and some anti-air, but for the Lizardman, it's going to be mostly an infantry-heavy army. Coming in with 10 units of infantry, 12 once you include the cavalry, 13 and 14 for lords, which leaves some space for chameleon skinks. And given the number of Saurus, I think it's quite likely that we're going to be seeing some skinks. My Dark Riders are going to be the main tool for catching them out later on. Let's go ahead and pull these guys back so that these Stalkers don't get too much damage. Okay, thankfully they didn't. And I will actually be able to catch out a few of the Stalkers, thankfully. Let's go ahead and advance now, get the Dark Riders a little bit on the flanks, charging these guys. Let's get my Lords and Heroes in onto the mix. And then at some point I will want to get some Manticores onto Oxyotl. That feels like a pretty good idea. Witch Elves are diving in. They should be able to win the frontline engagement. And Manticore summons abound. Now, these Umbral Tide are going to be a little bit annoying too. Marathi going to dive directly onto Oxyotl, and we'll see if this big play actually does manage to make it. Let's see here. Let's get the Manticore onto him too. We got our cavalry coming in through the side to hopefully shut him down. I'll get Harpies to shut down the cavalry on the other flank. Start bringing in some reinforcements. I don't have enough Winds of Magic for my other ability just yet. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and throw down the Rampage here to really just punch down Oxyotl while I can. And then get some nice charges with my cavalry. One big problem is that the Umbral Tide continues to live, but we have managed to kill off Oxyotl, which will be quite good. Marathi will chase him off while my Dark Riders deal with the Umbral Tide. Marathi can hopefully keep pace here. Balance of power is quite in my favor too. Oxyotl does come back, however, and that's going to be a little bit scary as I don't have many tools right now to continue diving in onto him since all this cavalry is here. He does go into stealth mode too, but I have fairly well secured the front line. Marathi can't exactly dive in here. I can't get my Manticore there either. But the fact that the cavalry is just so distracted trying to defend Oxyotl, it means that... Or not Marathi, Helibron. Yeah, since the cavalry is just so distracted, I think my front line should be able to more or less just collapse in and win the day. At least that's the hope. Let's see, Oxyotl, though, he is constantly peppering Marathi. And I'm going to send in some Harpies to try and support. If I can actually finish him off, that would be huge. And if Hellebrand isn't able to do it, the hope is that a big old Manticore summon will. And that will be coming in a little bit. Let's go ahead and bog him down just a little bit with some Harpies too. In fact, they're going to shut down the Umbral Tide since they are a little bit more annoying. In the meantime, the remnants of my cavalry cleaning up whatever skinks they can. And then, let's see. Let's get these Harpies to scout out some Oxyotl, why don't we? These, Cold One Spear Riders are going to be a little bit annoying. I don't have a lot of ways to easily catch them out. They are quite beat up. But, I can pull them off of the sisters by sending in this Manticore onto Oxyotl. So that should work out well for me. The Lizardmen have lost most of their forces at this point, and the last remnants of my cavalry can do some really nice cleanup on these forces, which will be just absolutely great. All the skinks are at low enough HP where they'll basically rout off on contact, and Marathi coming on in with another big old rampage here can finish off all of these guys. Oxyotl routing off too. What a glorious sight to see. We'll dive our Manticore in on top of him. I think surprisingly enough, this sort of infantry rush build is going to be working out as far as I can tell. Now, I will still have to kill off Oxyotl. He's not dead yet, and I might have to bring in Marathi actually just to finish him off in case the Manticore loses track, which is definitely a possibility. Dark Riders continuing to run cleanup. They're going to kill these Spear Riders, I think. And then my Sisters of Slaughter are going to be staying close together with Marathi so that they don't so that they can win this next upcoming fight against the Chameleon Stalkers. In fact, I'm tempted to almost stop chasing this cavalry unit with my Dark Riders just so that they can support this fight. And given that I don't have to actually fight this right now, I'm not going to take it so that I can get a little bit more of an advantaged situation. Seems like the good play to make. I routed off another unit of skinks too. Thankfully, having these few units of cavalry left in the end of the game is actually helping me out a ton. And now that they've finished off most of these Cold One Riders, I can move in and actually support in the main fight now. Bringing in my Dark Riders to support. Let's get my Beastcaster in there too. And then see what we can do. We actually have a decent amount of units left and the balance of power. The Lizardmen trying to regroup, which means that I definitely want to be disrupting them now before they group up with the Saurus Warriors. And now I'm sort of hoping that I had engaged these guys a tiny bit earlier, since the Saurus are going to be pretty scary in this late game situation. They're going to be quite effective against my Sisters of Slaughter. So I'll have to do my best to make sure that my Sisters don't take too much damage before the actual main fight goes down. I do manage to rout off one of these Stalkers, and killing off their Lord here too is actually going to be rather good, since it means that or not the Lord, but the Caster, because once he goes down, I'll be able to rout off the rest of the units, but instead it actually just pushes the Lizardmen into army losses, and it's going to be a win. Oh my gosh, look at that. We actually, we got a win with this weird build. I think it was, a lot of it was the cavalry, I gotta say. The Manticore summons, killing Oxyotl, amazing. I think that helped me out a ton. For Hellebrand, she fought fairly well, and most of the Lizardmen range units were actually shut down. The Stalkers didn't hit most of my expensive infantry, and you can see it paid off because all of them paid for themselves. Absolutely great. The cavalry doing great, and the Harpies, even just as a distraction, still got pretty good value. Nice. That puts us at 1-1 now, which means that we're going into the final match, which means it's a perfect time to run my pick 3 code. You can find You can find that on my Discord. So which factions have I played? I've played Dark Elves. Gee, well played. Let's see, what map are we on? We are on Northern Chaos Wastes. Let's see here. Northern Chaos Wastes, nice. So I have played Dark Elves and I played Empire. My opponent has played Chaos and Lizardmen, I think. Are those the factions that we played? Yes. And my pick 3 is saying to go Dwarves, Coast, and Wood Elves. And I don't have to ban anything. Dwarves, Vampire, Coast, and Wood Elves. Someone in chat, just give me a faction to ban. But apparently this is the best pick 3 I can go for. And honestly, it looks pretty good. Coast and Wood Elves alone will win a lot of matchups. And then the Dwarves acting as a backbone. And we'll ban Wood Elves. Bubba's Big Blast. Putting it in. The map is set. It's a little bit forested. Not the best for Coast, actually, but we'll make do. Ban Bretonia. Too late. All hail the mighty. Yeah, we got Coast in here. We got Coast. For those of you that want to actually see my my pick 3 situation here. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Let's see if I do this. Nope, not yet. Let's close that. Let's make it. Nope, wrong thing. Where's my screen blocker thing? Man, I've been streaming for so long and managing this is still so confusing. All right, so we'll change this one to. Where is it at? There we go. We got there. We got there. Boom. Oh, wrong hotkey. Boom. There we go. Yeah, this is my pick 3 code. So you know, you tell it which factions you've played, which factions your opponent played, and then it will just give you all the pick 3s that you can possibly choose from, along with matchups that you know, along with the factions you might want to ban. My opponent going for greenskins. I will go dwarves. Should be good. The Dawi. Very strong versus the greenskins, thanks to their hefty gyrocopters. But the greenskins do have tools, for sure. Now, my actual dwarf build, what will I go? And by the way, thank you for the subscription, good sir. Sayan, Mishara, and earlier today, Scott subscribing. Thank you very much. Both of you. The support is wonderful. Now, we're going dwarves. What type of build do you guys want to see? I assume not a box. I assume not. Flame cannons, maybe? I think the greenskins are very likely going to go for doom divers. So I will be accommodating, dealing with that. And here you are spending 15 minutes for your pick 3. Yeah, the bot is sick. If you go to my Discord and go to the pick 3 channel, it will just give you everything. You will have to edit the table to match your preferences, but once you do that, it's so good. It's so good. It saves so much time. But let's see. You know, I sort of like Thunderers here. Maybe even some Ranger Great Weapons, perhaps. Hero Core. Ooh, now that's an interesting thought. What, like a Thorek, perhaps? A Master Engineer? Maybe even a Gotrek? Double Master Engineer? Full Vanguard Dwarves? Maybe. Full Vanguard Dwarves is always pretty janky. I don't really have any heroes that work well with that too. But maybe. Let's see. I think I'm allowed to run 2 flash bombs in the current rule set. I will, let's see. You know what? I'll only take 1 engineer. I don't need to. Let's take Scab Scrath. Discount Scab Scrath. Gotrek. Boom. Gotrek's in. We'll take him with nothing because he doesn't need any support for himself. We'll go Thorek. He's gonna give armor so that these 2 guys are unkillable by low armor piercing units, which is pretty rare, but the extra armor will help a little bit. Even against Azag. Rune of Slowness. Awesome ability if you want to catch Anyone? Let's see, what else? What else? Maybe, I sort of like, having, you know, let's take like, you know what? Let's take a steam gyro and a gun gyro. The gun gyro will have a lot of ammo from the engineer, so that should help him out quite a bit. Let's see, some bugmans to deal with skirmishers. I'm going a bit of an aggressive build because of the map, and I don't want to die to doom divers. Miners work really well with extra ammunition too. And a lot of this will be Vanguard. Extra armor, even useful on iron breakers due to the vigor. It's interesting. Is that how that works? I guess if they lose their vigor, it'll boost it up. Let's see, and then probably some longbeards and dwarf warriors. This puts my front line pretty cheap. The dreaded ballista. Well, right now I'm going a little bit more of an offensive build. Ranger great weapons are risky. All right, I'll stick with the Thunderers then. I have a pretty hefty backline already. Let's see. It's a pretty hefty backline. This leaves enough money for a single unit of Slayers and another unit of Longbeards for a better front line. And just a tiny bit of extra money left to spend as I wish. Let's see. There's a few ways I can spend it. You can actually make Longbeards pretty hefty if you chevron them up correctly. On the third chevron, they gain 2 melee defense, putting them up to 52. It's actually insane. They'll never get hit. It puts them almost at hero levels of melee defense. So really good versus things like nasty skulkers who have high AP but relatively low melee attack. It's pretty good. I'm feeling confident here. Cool. Now, this map is the reason why I didn't take any of the, you know, what are they called? Artillery suggestions? There we go. And I will have a little bit of a vanguard, as much as I can anyways, with the army that I have. I'll probably end up pulling back a few of these guys, but this feels pretty good. Miners don't have to be that far forward. The greenskin army is going to be rather large. In fact, my army is really small because of Gotrek, which is probably my biggest worry right now. Never really a fan of Gotrek, but we'll see how well he does in a late game situation. I got my Slayers too. An awesome unit for clearing out just endless amounts of large units. As long as the gyrocopters do well, I think I'll be okay. Slayers are going to be hanging out in the back to defend as well as they can. Good luck, have fun to my opponent. We'll see how it goes. I think Black Orcs could be a little bit scary. Of course, the Hero Core is still quite strong, so I think they will be able to get some good damage in. And my Gyrocopters too should be okay. It's definitely going to be scary. Here we go into the ace match against Sona. He's gone for no artillery. Interesting choice. Would have expected at least a little bit. With a heavy amount of skirmishers and a Black Orc core by the looks of it. So quite nice. I will get my Rangers up in range. Unintended. To start shutting down these guys. I'm gonna bait out these skirmishers for a second. And then get a big old volley on top of them. That should get some pretty nice damage as the gyrocopters juke and dodge. And look at that. That's a really nice trade to start off the fight. Some spirit leeches might drop too, but should be no problem. And as the gyrocopters slowly pick off these skirmishers, I think we are in for a fairly good start. Master Engineer will be poking at Azag, and I want to move up to make sure that the Black Orcs don't cause too many issues. Azag, he does slow down the Spirit Leech, gets in a nice amount of damage. Let's brace these Dwarf Warriors as best as I can. And then shoot at these Squig Hoppers. They shouldn't be able to get too much done, I don't think. Master Engineer actually poking away quite aggressively onto Azag. It looks like he took a lot more damage than he would have hoped for, which is really nice for me. The Squig Hoppers are now down, and the Black Orcs, they do begin advancing. Now, there are some nasty skulkers I will have to worry about. I'm going to pull back my my miners to engage onto them, and then hope that they are able to kill them. There are a lot of what's it? Infantry units here. Let's go ahead and slow them down. Let's give a fiery ring onto them, and then get my front line squared up here, as a lot of my guys are actually starting to clump up. Blasting charges, get a pretty nice first volley, but the fight is on, and my positioning is a little bit sketchy. Let's see here. I will want to pull these slayers back to a slightly better position too. But yeah, this is a little bit sketchy, mostly because of all the... it's mostly sketchy because I am really clumped up right now, and a big debuff does actually drop. It looks like I will be able to rout off those goblins at the very least, but some fanatics are about to drop, and I will have to pay attention, close attention to that, to make sure I don't take too much damage. The black orcs too, piling in, are going to be quite vicious. And the plan right now is going to be to give Azag some punishing. Turning all my guns to face him. Let's use Thorak's big ol' anvil ability too. And as soon as I'm able to throw down the slow, that should be able to help against Azag quite a bit. Fanatics drop, they hit my bugmins. That's not the worst case scenario ever, as they are quite hardy. They will be able to hold for a while, at least some time. And now the question is, how much of a beating can I give to Azag? He has caught out my gyrocopters, which is not great, but I will still be able to drop some bombs, hopefully taking out these goblins. Azag taking a good amount of damage himself, but I do lose all of my steam gyros, which is pretty bad. The infantry for the greenskins will surely cause some issues here. The fear is gone too, and my thunderers do get caught out. And even though the balance of power is still in my favor, I think the greenskins with their rallying units are going to be a problem. Of course, Gotrek is still very good, and I will have a big ol' fiery ring here in a second, but not the best place to throw it down just yet. Gyrocopters are doing well for themselves. I can get a flash bomb here to hit all of these units. That works out fairly well for me. A lot of the goblins are routing off too. I should be able to hit some nasty skulkers also, but they do get a fairly nice charge onto my slayers. Greenskins pulling back in the balance of power also. A little bit scary. Gotrek doing well, but I think I might just lose to the Black Orcs in this situation. No idea where Azag went either. It seems like, yeah, he went real far away to just bail out on the fight. But he is diving in again, overcast damaging himself to Spirit Leech my gyrocopters. This is a potential to actually try and make a comeback play here. Because the greenskins, they are beginning to come out on top. Spirit Leech actually killing the gyrocopter. I will get a fairly nice explosion here with Thorak, with that rune. Yeah, there we go. Pretty nice on the Black Orcs, but there's just so many Black Orcs left, and I don't think I'll be able to clear them out. Azag quite low though. He won't be able to cycle charge the hero core in the late game, and that could come into play. Master Engineer will continue poking away. And we've entered the stage of the dwarf game where there is not a whole ton to micro. Master Engineer will be going down first though. One last shot into Azag doesn't miss, unfortunately. I will be able to get some pretty nice melee attack boosts though. And it doesn't look like the fear will really be routing anything off, unfortunately. Spirit Leech drops on Gotrek. And now we pray. We pray that my lords hold, and that they'll be able to do well. Honestly though, I don't think Gotrek did very well for himself. There just weren't a lot of targets for him in the entire battle, and although he was able to stay in the fight for a long time, having more infantry probably would have helped. Azag, hanging in the air, looks like he might want to dive in for a big ol' fight. Looks like he's going to be choosing not to, since the Black Orcs are doing so well already, and with Thorak routing off, I think that's going to be GG. Alright, so there we go. I'm pretty sure my heroes didn't do very well that game. Let's take a quick look though. If Gotrek did manage to pay for himself, you can color me surprised. But there we go, only 600 gold value. Not great. The Master Engineer did better. Thorak did okay too. The Steam Gyro also. I should have scouted out behind me early on if I did, I actually would have been able to catch out a lot of nasty skulkers. Very good to punish the vanguards early on, and I definitely should have done that. For the Longbeards too, they actually traded terribly into the Black Orcs. And for the range units, they did okay, nothing amazing. The blasting charges were quite nice though. Yeah, Go Trek though. Go Trek. I'm not a fan of Go Trek, but remembering the vanguards is definitely quite important for sure. But my opponent is out. Let's go ahead and report the loss and then queue up into the final best of 3 for today. Will I be able to take the win? We will see. Sorry, it's really hot. Yeah, it's really hot, so I'm just gonna get my t-shirt on and we will see. It looks like I matched up into Deadly Bunnies. Just invite them in. I don't have them on my Steam friends list, but I can let them know that lobby is up. Lobby is up. There we go. Let's see. And the invite. Nope, not invite to watch. Invite to play. Oh, that's weird. There's no invite to lobby function. Strange. Let's see. How do I invite them to the game? What's going on? Do I need to open up a slot for humans? More than 4K for the character core? Yeah. In general, I would say if you are playing as the dwarves, it's actually better to go heavier on your infantry instead of characters. Your characters don't have as much stopping power as other units, but I think it was still a fun thing to try out. So the first map is going to be Storm Demon. Let's see here. Where is it at? ST. Storm Demon. Map set. Alright guys, give me a faction and 2 bands and we will play it. We played a lot of Dark Elves already, so hopefully we can switch it up. I am willing to play anything. I know some viewers last stream very hyped about Chaos. The options are endless. We can play vampire counts too. Wood elves, alright. You will have to give me bands though, lest someone beat you out. Beastmen, we need bands. Give me bands. Okay, well, we'll give chat a second. Oh, Vlad, alright. Kelligar already on the calls. Alright, but we have no bans, so there we go. Beastmen, ban Wood Elves and Bretonia. Alright, Wood Elves and Bretonia. Okay, not a bad setup. We haven't played any Beastmen yet, so I'm pretty excited. If there's any units you want to see tried out, I will try them. But we have lost last match, so I'm tempted to go a little bit more hardcore. I'll still try to fit in whatever I can. Let's see here. Our opponent is going to be Deadly Bunnies. Clan PE. Alright, and we are we are 0-0. Should be good. Alright, everything is set up. And it seems like they are going for Empire. Pretty good pick. Very nice generic set. But what? Oh, Skaven. Interesting. Okay. So I do have a preset Beastmen build here against Skaven, but what would you guys like changed around with it? Actually, never mind. I lied. I don't have a preset build against Skaven. But, you know, the traditional thing. You know, you take Taurox, single Ungor Raider, maybe some Centaur Throwing Axes to win the single entity fight. You can go for Chaos Spawn, too. Can't really go wrong there. And then like a load of cavalry and dogs, something like this, along with a cheap front line of infantry, just to sit there and stay engaged with the Beastmen. Bunny says this is awful for Beastmen. I would beg to differ. especially with the chariots. The new chariots are amazing, these bad boys. And of course you want a caster. Of course you want a caster too. So let's see, what would it be? Probably like someone choose my lore of magic and I'll stick with it. Mortis engine. Mortis engine is pretty good. Jabberslythe is quite speedy. The main threat is it's not an amazing single entity fighter, but it's pretty good. Yeah. What caster of death? There we go. Got him. All right, now let's see here. Death. We'll take the caster of death. We'll put him. We could put him on a chariot too. Cut this guy out. Put him on a chariot, and then bring him with good old probably Spirit Leech and maybe a leadership debuff. We got the Jabberslythe. So it's a fairly nice setup. I got my 2 chariots. He counts as a single entity monster. I don't have a lot of cavalry. I will want to fit in at least a couple of those guys, cut some of that, and we have a perfect spend. Just like this. Doom and Darkness. Yeah, we got Doom and Darkness. So here you go. Here's the build. We had to cut some Centaur throwing axes and a Chaos Spawn for the Jabberslythe, but as a disruption tool, it is amazing. ROR Jabber is not very good here because it's specialized for armor, which traditionally Skaven do not have a lot of. Although they can bring Council Guard, it's pretty rare. The map is going to be absolutely ginormous too. So we could see a kite build from Deadly Bunnies. Kite build would give a little bit of an issue, but I think we should be just fine. Yeah, if we do get kited out, we have like, you know, we got 4 units of mobility. Not even, we have 6 units of mobility. A chunky front line, big old monster, ready to dive in onto the forces of the Beastmen. Let's see, let's put this guy on 5 since he's a chariot. I will need to control him a little bit more than the Jabberslythe. Loads of infantry. We'll move them a little bit forward so that they get kited a few seconds less than they would otherwise. Angora Raiders, in case it is a monster mash. The army, mostly, hey, what the? It's a, no, never mind. It's not elite army. Slightly smaller than last time. But so far, yeah, this feels pretty good. And it's fairly standard too. You got your mobility. You gotta rush. That's essentially how Beastmen are going to play it most of the time. You love Council Guard. Council Guard are pretty good. I think the Jabberslythe will help us out a lot if we do see Council Guard though. For the Skaven army, it's going to be Skaven slaves, Ikit Claw, Rat Ogres, and a ton of rats. Now rats, a little bit scary. You will have to get the counter charge on them if you want to win the fight. But if you do get the counter charge, you will win the fight dramatically. It's not even close. Ikit Claw, on the other hand, single entity, going to be a little bit strong. My wolf rats gonna not take a shot from these guys, thankfully. They avoid most of that damage. And my infantry is going to be tanking these gutter runners at the start of the battle. Now they are very close to my army. Sort of a tempting fate here, asking me to make a big old charge in. I will choose not to though, simply because of all the support that they have in the back. And I don't really want to engage that yet. Ikit Claw going ham on the front line, charges right into my Ungors and gets a little bit caught up. Torok's charging into him now. He's going to be taking some damage. Spirit Leech on top of him too. And I don't even really need to get my infantry fighting just yet. He does drop a fairly nice AoE onto everything, which is decent damage, but Ikit Claw himself is taking quite the beating now. And he's already on the verge of routing. I will give him a good old hit there onto his leadership. We'll charge these wolf rats to get them out and routed, countercharge some of those rat ogres, and we have Ikit Claw routing off the battlefield already. So instantly a pretty good initial fight for me. Torox can easily chase him off here, I think. The gutter runners get a lot of damage on Torox though, and that's going to be a little bit sketchy. I'm actually going to instead disengage with them, get him into a safer position, because as you can see, those guys are really just laying in onto him with all of their ranged attacks. And if I can keep Torok safe, I think we're in a really good position. Wicked Claw is so low on HP that he won't really have much of a battlefield impact at this point. And with the Gutter Runners not really getting too much value, I think that main engagement really did it. Not really too... It doesn't explain the matchup too much, since in the end it was a little bit of a blunder on the Skaven side, having Wicked Claw get caught out. But still very, very decisive win immediately. And our opponent does tap on out. Brutal engagement on Wicked Claw. He just died instantly. Torok's tearing him apart. My caster with the Spirit Leeches and the leadership debuff helped a ton too. And from there wasn't really much the army could do. The Rat Ogres just got countercharged like crazy. And yeah, that was basically it. Just taking some really good engagements. Pretty straightforward indeed. Which means we have the first win of the best of 3. Yeah, Wicked Claw got dumpstered hard. Yep. GG, well played. Yeah, Icket. Oh my goodness, that was brutal. Just brutal. Ugh. But nice. Next map is going to be Tower of Hoek, my favorite. Should be somewhere here. There we go. And we'll see what we want to counter with. Now, I will take the first suggestion for a counter after we see the factions that Deadly Bunnies goes for. Any factions before will not be honored. So hold tight. Hold tight. This is pretty fun though. I've been going, I've played a lot of different units that I don't usually run. A lot of different playstyles too. To some good success, some terrible. So it's a lot of learning. A lot of learning indeed. By the way, for any newcomers to the stream right now, the Ent-Ladder that I am playing on right now is getting a season reset coming this September 18th, where ELO is going to be reset and a whole host of events is going to be coming on up. So if you're interested in something better than quick battles, join on in. He's playing vampire counts. Now what would you guys like me to counter with? There's a lot of good options here. I will take the first counter. Skaven Lords really don't want to be on the front lines, except maybe Queek. Yeah, even Queek has a hard time unless it's dwarves. Sometimes it's nice to know why you don't use certain units. Indeed, the Luminarch being one of them. You know, Gotrek too, fairly low impact on the game. Tomb Kings. Tomb Kings? Okay, I'm gonna take a pass on Tomb Kings. I will go for the elves, as in dark elves. That's the only elves that we see. And Zero is saying chaos. Alright. Some very ambiguous choices there, and some pretty sketchy choices. I'll go dark elves just to avoid the hard counter, which Tomb Kings and Chaos would be. I think my opponent is strong enough where if I went those, I'd have a rough time. Maybe another day. But yeah, we have the Dark Elves now. Justin can't sleep saying gobos. Well, it's too late now, but how do we want to play this matchup? There's a variety of cheeses here that we can use. But I don't really feel like cheesing right now. If you guys have suggestions, I will take it. The traditional Dark Elf build, like the most standard that you will see, it's gonna look something like this. In terms of a box, anyways. You have AoEs, you got the Assassin, you have a Death Hag for some reason. For this AoE debuff, -5 melee attack, I guess, and some speed. I feel like this is a little bit weak, but you know, elite infantry, very nice versus accounts. Alternatively, I could be a mad lad and try to go for cavalry and try to win the cavalry fight against them, which is very hard. Handbow kite? Maybe. Maybe. You seem half confident, so I will half confidently go handbow kite. So if we take 5 black arc corsairs, what do you guys want me to take to accompany these guys? A single Medusa? A single Medusa? Are people ready to see me lose? I've never run a Medusa before. Like, basically never, but I guess I should try at least one. I'm gonna take the normal one so I don't spend as much money on it, and we'll see how it goes. I maxed out on 360 units. Very unfortunate. How much does this black egg? It has 3 charges. It doesn't do as much damage as Scab Scrap though, so it's not great. ROR Medusa? Butcher Bird. Butcher Bird, you madman. Alright, fine. I'll take the ROR. My gosh. But what else? We are up 1 game, so I guess it's not too bad. ROR better. I can't take any Scourge Runners. I'm maxed out on 360. Let's see. It's a decent kite so far, though. Has AoE, so you can do more AoE cheese. Indeed. I do have a lot of AoE cheese right now. We got, you know, the Soul Stealers and so on. Marathi, we'll take her on her mount. We'll take her on foot. I'm a little bit scared being in the air against the counts. She has an arching gaze now. That's beyond magic. Ooh, fun. Charybdis. I don't know how well that works with the kite. I'll pass on that. Harpies for the air. Yeah, we could take a few harpies just so that we don't get, you know, swarmed and murdered. I won't spend too much money though on those. I saw someone say sisters. Very nice, just as a raw melee unit. But how do I not die to cavalry? The vampire count's cavalry is going to be very scary here. And unless I have a strong answer against them, it's going to be rough. It's going to be really rough, actually. What? Dread Knights, Dark Riders. All right, let's go Dark Riders. They will hold. I still am missing a lot of AP though, which worries me. I guess Dark Rider crossbows are, of course, very nice. Something like this. I could even go all in on the Dark Rider crossbows. Tons of missile cavalry. Repeater crossbows, probably too expensive. This is, you know, it sort of works. Rampage versus the Knights. Yeah, if my Knights rampaged, it would be over. It would be absolutely over. But, you know, I have Harpies to stall. I'm sort of banking that there aren't too many units of cavalry here. I don't have any Blackguard. Maybe I can cut 2 of these guys to fit them in. Yeah, I'll take a single Blackguard for the cavalry. And then end it there. A lot of things on the Vampire Count's roster is armored. They have, you know, Graveguard. They have their Lords. And they also have something else. They have something else that is armored. Though I am not entirely sure what. By the way, so a reminder, special sponsors of today. You can see over there, Human Boy is one of them, and they are actually hosting a tournament in about 30 minutes. So if you guys want to check that out, I will be playing it in. I will be playing in it myself, though I won't be streaming, just because I am. I'll be pretty tired by the end of this. But if you want to play in the tournament that I will also be in, you can go ahead and join that. It's pretty great. Let's see here. Cavalry, Knights, Tomb Guard. Tomb Guard or Grave Guard? Anyways. Yeah, there's a few units with armor. There's also a few units with very little armor, but such is the way of things. This build, I have no cavalry. It's very sketchy. My heroes are on foot. And it really depends on how well I can kite here. I'd say I am decent at kiting. I have a Medusa to really shoot at a lot of things here. But it's going to be a little bit sketchy. Just a little bit sketch. Good luck, have fun. All right. And here we go. On to the match. Second match against Deadly Bunnies. It's an infantry kite build with the Medusa. Now, it did get buffed sort of recently. And I'm hoping that it's going to do well here. As long as there's no, you know, gazes that shoot it to death, I should be good. There is a Spirit Leech. And Medusa does not have a lot of HP. Actually, it has 5,000, so perhaps a little higher than I would have initially thought. It has anti-infantry too, which is very strong. And since I'm mobile, if the vampire counts over prepare for a box, I'm in fairly good shape too. I'm going to lose a few shots in, onto these zombies. It's a little bit inefficient, so I will actually get my Dark Riders to shoot at some Graveguard instead. The Medusa specifically has to save a lot of ammo. I definitely don't want her wasting shots on zombies. The Corsairs can deal with the zombies instead. And the first anti-air shot drops on my Harpies without causing a lot of damage. So all in all, fairly nice trades right off the bat. Medusa having a little bit of a hard time finding correct engagement here. Dives a tiny bit too far forwards. The Vampire Lords diving forwards also going to be a tiny bit scary against my, let's see, my Dark Riders that have to disengage. Morathi trying to get into position, and so far the Corsairs are doing okay. Spirit Leeches are hitting my Crossbow Riders, which sort of sucks, but the Medusa is getting some nice damage. My Corsairs have chunked down the zombie horde fairly well for themselves too. And if I can get a good old volley on this Von Carsign Lord, that'd be great. But my opponent gets a solid dodge there. And I sadly don't get a ton of damage. So far, though, the kite is going very well. The vampire counts have very few tools to actually catch many of my forces here. And as long as I keep these Corsairs running, I'm feeling fairly confident. The Medusa, though, she will run out of ammunition eventually. A little bit of a risky dive in there from my opponent. Nearly loses both heroes, but they do pull them to safety. And a zombie summon does drop. That will slow down my forces a tiny bit when it comes to the kite. The Corsairs too, taking a bit of damage from these doggos. Not amazing. I will try for a pretty big pick though on the dogs. Charging the Harpies directly into the backs of them and getting a huge Soul Stealer. Should be able to chunk them down fairly well. I'm distracting the Lords with my Harpies, so they shouldn't be able to get too much damage in. And let's see, where's the Assassin? He's in the midst of things. He'll have to dive in too. But man, that Mortis engine is getting in a lot of damage, and I will have to disengage to try and continue this kite game. Though it is getting a little bit scary since Morathi, being on foot, does not have a ton of tools for kiting out super well. At least, or she's gonna have a hard time actually, you know, surviving here. The Assassin will be moving in to assist as much as she can. Same with my Medusa. The dogs managed to survive the AoE onslaught too, which is definitely not great. But I do manage to peel for Morathi. She will be routing off though, and she will likely be dying. That's going to be pretty rough, as I don't have a ton of actual supporting elements for her. And she actually does die, which is a huge misplay on my part. The Dark Riders, though, will be able to finish off the Mortis engine. That is a brief moment of respite for me. I have done a decent amount of damage to the vampire counts, lords, and heroes, which is great. And, of course, I do have the glorious Blackguard of Nagarond, who will be assisting, too. Let's see, some of my cavalry do get routed, though. And things got a little bit messy there. Medusa will be able to finish off the Claw of Nagash, I think. But it is speeding away. It does finally get caught by the Medusa, though. And that means we are heading on into a little bit more of the late game scrapping it out situation here. Medusa has decent ammunition for the rest of the Blackguard, but I don't know if she can deal with the heroes. Let's go ahead and pull her back. I really did need Morathi here to trade well into them. I will pull in the Assassin to do his best against the hero squad. I have even a few units of mobility left to my cavalry, and so far it seems like that Vampire of Death is taking a good amount of damage. Blackguard are moving into support too, and there is a lot of cycle charging going in. Now the goal is going to be focusing down the Vampire of Death. Sadly, I get a bit of a misclick there and the debuff hits the wrong target. I do still have my Blackguard, but they will lose to the Graveguard over the course of the battle. And being so close to the edge of the map here may end up being my downfall. Medusa too. She does have another big AoE I can drop that will hit the infantry for quite a bit of damage. And I'll send her into melee to try and beat up this Vampire of Death. With the crossfire of most of my range units, I think I should be able to get some pretty nice trades here, actually. The Vampire of Death, extremely low now. I think a single shot from the Medusa should be able to kill her. And then the big question is, ooh, man, look at that, sniped right out of the air. But the big question is, can I actually kill all the Graveguard? It's gonna be pretty sketchy, and it really depends on how many of my units here actually end up rallying. A few of them might be able to make it, but I need a lot of ammunition here. Corsairs are coming back. That is going to be a bit of a saving grace here. And it seems like the Winds of Magic situation is running low for the vampire counts. So it's not entirely over yet. Perhaps getting a big pick on this Lord too could be nice. And Medusa charging him in the back. Misses, unfortunately, but it does give him a little bit of a run for his money. He does have to be a tiny bit careful here. And I can still disengage with my forces. Corsair still alive too. And let's go ahead and just start cycle charging with the cavalry as much as I can. Medusa, fairly high mass, can cycle charge too. And man, I wish I still had Marathi. But what can you do? Medusa's going to be pulling here. Blackguard getting into position. My assassin going into saving ammunition mode. And I'll see if I can get another big shot onto the hero. Hopefully, chunking him down. He is dodging a bit, which does make things a tiny bit harder. And he does dive in onto the Medusa. It looks like just for a single charge though. Summon some zombies. And I will actually try to charge him here with the Medusa. I do lose one of my Corsairs, which is a bit unfortunate, but I do manage to keep the rest of my forces alive. Some Corsairs in the distance, faring decently well too. And with the Medusa at fairly high leadership, I think that's decent for me. I do still have more shots to shoot at the Graveguard great weapons, but oh man, a big rout on my cavalry over there. It's gonna be pretty rough. No more cycle charging for me. So it will just come down purely to these Corsairs and how well they can do. Let's go ahead and get them to shoot at the Graveguard great weapons. Medusa too, with her cycle charging, should get some fairly nice damage for herself. And as long as the Lord doesn't get too many heals, that's going to be fairly nice for me. Medusa can now cycle charge since I am shooting with my Corsairs. That'll get some pretty nice damage. The zombies mostly are just going to be ignored at this point. And these guys are just going to be kiting out these forces. Let's see if I can grab the Graveguard too. The assassin would love to debuff the Lord here. He does get it. But the Medusa looks like she won't be able to push through. Maybe she will though, as she does have a lot of mass. Oh, but the Lord does manage to escape. Not great for me. I do lose the Blackguard now. And we are rapidly running out of units. Of course, I still have the Medusa with decent ammunition left, but rapidly dwindling. The Lord, too, looks like he wants to dive in on my assassin. And I will get the Medusa to try and charge and finish him off. Hopefully getting in some nice damage. She hits him. And if she gets another hit off, that would actually kill him. Oh, but she just barely misses. Now going in for the ranged shot. Oh, that misses too. And he's going to be sitting tight at no HP. Now that is going to be pretty rough. It looks like he's actually opting to go for my assassin now. And we'll see if he decides to make the dive in. Medusa going to go for a shot. Oh, and it hits. It connects. But will the Lord actually kill off my assassin? He's crumbling now, which is a fairly good sign. He takes a huge volley from the crossbows, and he's dead. He's dead. We did actually manage to kill off the Lord. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the ROR Medusa actually doing quite well for herself here. Surprisingly enough. Oh, but the assassin routes off again. Darn you. Darn you, assassin. I need these guys to be going into melee so that the Medusa can cycle charge as much as possible. And let's see here. Let's just charge right on through these zombies. Charge into the Graveguard. And then pull away. The assassin's just gonna sit tight and regain his vigor. Just, you know, get his bearings up a little bit so that he's not freaking out too much and that he can come into the fight. But he shatters off the battlefield. Despite all odds, his range attacks would have done great against the Graveguard here, but that's not going to be helping me here anymore, as he is gone. And it means that it's going to be the Medusa trying to finish off the Graveguard now. It's going to be a little bit of a tough fight. I can only cycle charge for so long since my coursers have just routed. That means that it's just the Medusa and Graveguard now. There's no more micro to be had. So I leave it to the ×4 gods to try and to carry me through. The leadership for most of these guys is low enough where they're crumbling away, but it's just really the zombies that are crumbling. Not great for me. Medusa too. Doesn't have anti-infantry, but she does have anti-armor. 3,000 HP too to the 5,000 of the Graveguard. It depends on if she routes or not. Balance of power though going in the favor of the vampire accounts. These are great weapons too, so they get a lot of damage in, and they will probably be able to win it. But they might not, and that's what's important here. We're just gonna hope that the Medusa manages to hard carry, but we're losing ground. If the assassin had managed to stay in the fight, we totally would have won this. Also, Marathi dying early game was painful, but you know, what can you do? Come on, Medusa, go! What melee defense is her? She's at 45, not too bad against the 26 melee attack of the Graveguard. It's pretty good. These Graveguard have a melee attack boost though. But her leadership is really low at 8 leadership now. And there we go, she does route to army losses. GG, well played. Oh, had I only played a tiny bit better, but pretty fun. I actually really enjoyed the Medusa. I wonder if she would be snipeable with Gazes of Nagash. I think it's very likely that had there been a Gaze of Nagash, she would have been sniped out in entirety. But look at that value, 3,000 damage value. The assassin, also hard carrying. Between the two of them, they killed about half of the gold of the vampire counts. Crossbows, amazing unit. In fact, if I just took more of these guys, I would have won it. Some harpies. Of course, they didn't do too well. There wasn't much of an air game. I'm wondering maybe I cut one harpy here. Maybe not. That's sort of undecided, but in the end, it did come down to the fact that I made some pretty big misplays at the end. But very fun. GG, well played. That puts our opponents at 1 win now. And for the ace match, the final game of today, who will win? It may very well be decided in the next 40 or 30 minutes on Blood Pine Woods. Here we go. Map set. A fairly small map, not amazing for kite. A forest on the flank. A little bit janky to use. We'll see how it goes. Oh, the harpies. They should have killed the dogs. 0. That is correct. I think that analysis, had I used the harpies for the dogs, I definitely would have done a lot better there. Let's see. Beastmen, Coast, Dowie. And what bands? What bands will we see? If you guys have ideas for the counter pick, let me know in chat. What to use? Alright, sorry, just responding to a Discord message. But yeah, we have a lot of counters here. Any bans? Oh, 1 ban. Here's our selection of factions. We can go for the Beastmen pick, which is pretty good. I already played Beastmen though, right? So I can't play them. I'm pretty sure last round was Beastmen against Skaven. Yeah. Oh, and he banned Coast. How fitting. Wood Elves banned Beastmen. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Alright. Wood Elves ban Beastmen. Alright. Yeah, we're set. Alright. Now what Wood Elf build do we want to go versus Dwarves? There's a ton of options here, about 3. You can go for a kite. You can go for a rush with cavalry. You can go for a rush with infantry. That's about it. Those are the main play styles, but they're all they're pretty good. So what think you, people? And there we go, the very expected Dowie pick. But yeah, there's a lot. The traditional idea is to go for an infantry rush, but it's also the most expected thing to go. Waystalkers, I think, will be fairly good almost no matter what I go. Rush is good with the woodland cover on the side of the map. That's true, that's true. I don't have to worry about going Waystalkers as heavily. Map is fairly small, yep. That's to my advantage. Go Mel Gibson. Is he good against dwarves? If someone can vouch that he's actually good against dwarves, I'll take him. But otherwise, he's Orion Rush. All right, 2 people saying Orion. Amazing here, apparently. I'll skip out on Drycha this time for the memes. Take him with his horn. We'll take him with his healing. Bunny's turned into a Dowie main. Be very afraid. Dwarves don't scare me that much. Now, do I take Stag Knights? Stag Knights are pretty sick. They do insane amounts of damage, and with the Horn of the Wild Hunt, they'll basically one-shot dwarf infantry. I will have to worry about, you know, embracing for the charge. That would be pretty bad. I'm tempted to take, like, you know, just a couple units of Glade Guard just to kill Slayers, and then the rest can be a rush, you know, the usual expected type of play. War Dancer spam, maybe some Blade Singer spam in there. We got some cavalry. We got the healer that I will not forget. Let's see here. Or do I need a healer? Spellsinger of Beasts, very strong versus heroes. Come on, get off your mount. Yeah, very strong versus heroes. We will have to stick with Eagle summons, but they do as much damage as Manticore, so they're not as bad as you might think. Plus, the Eagle summon costs 14 winds of magic. Can I just say that? You save 6 winds of magic. It's actually insane. So I feel like Eagle spam is actually the new meta. Can't remember if blasting charges are range units in the fruit rules. It will say. I guess I'll go ahead and check myself. In the fruit rules, blasting charges, where are they at? Range. Blasting? They are range units. They're ranged, alright. As is the way with the old school banner rules. Yeah, blasting charges are going to be pretty scary, so I will need some way of shutting them down. Maybe I don't need so many Glade Guard. 12 extra winds of magic if you use both. Yeah, it's actually huge. This is like a very elite infantry build. The alternative is I use Starfire Shafts to kill the blasting charges before I move in. Hawk Riders seem terrible for the matchup. Yes, they would be absolutely terrible. I would say that's a bit of a no-go there. Sylvan Knights don't have healing because of the Spell Singer, unfortunately. Let's see, with my remaining money, I can put her on a steed so that she can get some better Amber Spears. That's not too bad, but this build is very sparse, which worries me. I don't have a lot of tools to really kill off all the blasting charges for sure. Could do something like this, a little bit more armor piercing, and then use the forest as cover. This feels okay. This feels okay. It doesn't feel amazing. The Orion will give my guys huge, you know, extra charge bonus. War Dancers. It doesn't really combo as well with them since they don't have that much charge bonus, but it will definitely help. That tiny extra bit to rout off the dwarf units. Let's see, against Gyrocopters, I have Mel Gibson. He should do fine. And then once the front line is down, it should be a win from there. So let's try it out. Let us try it out. This is very different from how I usually play the matchup. Very often I like to go for the kite style. But this is not bad for sure. I think the dwarves will be deploying in the fairly open side of the map. So honestly, I don't know if using the forest for cover is the best idea ever. Like either I'm advancing straight on from here or I'm advancing this distance. If you look at, if the dwarves deploy over here, this sort of radius is the same for them. So I feel like I might as well just deploy like this, you know. So I do have a lot to deal with the various you know, minor threats. I don't think blasting charges will be much of a problem. The Sylvan Knights, very good tool for the dwarves, as they surprisingly enough lack magic damage on their range units. And yeah, it's just sort of a march forwards type build. Orion can be fairly far forwards too, and I'll put the Sylvan Knights on the far flank by the forest. These guys will just advance as fast as possible, and then hopefully the Manticore summons do well for me. Alright. So cool. The army for the dwarves is pretty small too. If we do see a box, these Glade Guard will be hard carrying me here. It's good to have at least a little bit of range. That's your best tool against boxes. It's why people go boxes so often against the counts. And let's see how it goes. So we got a fairly elite army here up against the dwarves. Dwarves going for an Iron Drake build. All right, up against mine with dwarf warriors galore. We got Orion right off the bat. He's gonna throw some javelins into these Iron Drakes. He's gonna take a little bit of damage from the engineers, but I don't have to worry too much. And then the Glade Guard, they're going to focus fire at those Iron Drakes like no one's business. In the meantime, I can set up a little bit of a stronger flank here with my forces. Orion dodging a tiny bit, does not want to take too much damage there. And then let's go ahead and get that Eagle summon, not Manticore. Sylvan Knights will be diving on in. Orion taking a lot of damage. Iron Drakes in position. Sylvan Knights charging in as fast as they can, and the Eagle, well, it's going to be flying in now. These Iron Drakes on the flank, I will want to make sure that they are healthily disrupted. A slow drops onto my guys, but all in all, the rush is beginning, and it looks like it should go fairly well. I've disrupted most of the Iron Drakes. One of them getting a pretty hefty shot on my guys. A little bit scary there. But it seems like I should be able to start pushing these guys back with my infantry advantage. Orion, just in the mix, causing a ton of disruption, is doing great for himself, and the Sylvan Knights are pushing through. I can get the second Manticore summon down too. And I need to really make sure that my infantry is force pathing their way onto the Iron Drakes. A little bit of a misplay did actually get me to take a little bit of damage there, unfortunately. One huge volley on a lot of my guys. Not great for me. Some guys routing off the side of the map too. I also forgot to use all the abilities on Orion. Shows how often I use him. But casting them now, I should be able to start shutting down these range units. The Sylvan Knights are holding fairly well for themselves. And let's just start shooting at these Bugman's Rangers. Actually, they're going to get shut down by my melee guys anyways. So I think that should be fine. Some more Iron Drakes over here on the side. Nothing too scary. And Orion is still causing a lot of havoc. These Iron Drakes on the front line, though, are now starting to get in a lot of damage onto my guys. Let's go ahead and pull back some of my ranged units to defend against that. Orion, in the meantime, taking a lot of damage. He is unbreakable, so he will be able to hold fairly well for himself. At the moment, as long as he doesn't take too much damage, his ward save will eventually get him to really start surviving here. But Belagar getting in a ton of damage. Oh, come on, Orion. Why are you getting stopped by a single engineer? Oh man, he gets extremely low. And it seems like he might go down. It really depends. The War Dancers are coming in to support. The Sylvan Knights are doing well for themselves too. But if Orion goes down to a Dwarf Engineer, that would be more or less the game over for me. Thankfully, he does appear to be surviving though. The Engineer is getting caught up in a bit of the mess everywhere else. Some more Iron Drakes posing a bit of a threat, and my range units are getting stopped by some units that are pushing forwards, the Dwarf Melee Infantry. I will be able to get some pretty nice crossfire though in on top of them, and Orion looks like he will just barely manage to survive, although both Engineers are diving in on top of him. Let's go ahead and start dodging as much as I can. A huge shot too onto my units. They take a lot of damage. My infantry having a rough time. But at the very least, Orion managed to live. And that is going to be the first step of many to try and pull things back together. I do still have the Sylvan Knights too, but they are taking just an absolute hammering from all of these dwarf units. Thankfully, the leadership is still fairly high. Doing well for themselves, and I can start getting some Amber Spears on a lot of these dwarf units. Orion's going to come in to kill off these dwarf warriors as best as he can. And probably the main issue here are those dreaded Master Engineers. Very elite dwarf heroes. The main problem is that they'll be able to poke away for quite some time, but luckily for me, with the support of Orion, he should be able to fight them in melee. And given that I still have a lot of Winds of Magic, thanks to the relatively cheap castings of Eagles, I actually still have a lot of Amber Spears in my pocket. My Caster Lord, too, can deal with the rest of the Iron Drakes. So perhaps this is where we manage to make the comeback. My Caster's gonna have to do a lot of dodging, though. And my Sylvan Knights, sadly, they did unfortunately get routed off, which is never great. And I have to still figure out a way to deal with these Master Engineers. They're going to be a bit of a problem as we head on into the late game. Sylvan Knights do manage to rally, but they might break again, which would be very unfortunate. My melee troops, too, are dwindling rather rapidly, but Orion thankfully has managed to heal himself up. I can now move in my Glade Guard to shoot at the rest of the Bugmans, thus finishing them off. And with my Caster on their flank, I don't think they'll have a very easy time shooting at my Rangers here. Or my Glade Guard, that is. But I can now begin firing away. My Caster going to get a huge Amber Spear down the length of most of these units. Orion charging into melee against the forces here of the Dowie, casting in as many spells as he can, and the reason he's getting into melee is to shut down those dreaded Master Engineers who are causing a lot of issues. Some more Iron Drakes actually do manage to barely get some volleys off. Orion is getting chunked down fairly low, but if he manages to live, he will be able to carry out the game with his healing. So it's actually my full priority now to shut down these Engineers. Belegar is distracted, and he won't really be able to support them. I can finish off the rest of these guys, but I think another slow actually hit Orion, and he is extremely low now. Thankfully, both Engineers have managed to be shut down. Orion's healing, kicking in his ward save this game, just barely keeping him alive. And I think I should be good. I might be calling it a bit early, but Belegar, he's in a fairly rough position here. There's not much he can really do to support the rest of the Dwarven army. Orion getting a bit of friendly fire there against the Sylvan Knights, not great. But I do still have the Glade Guard. Belegar can't really come in to support anytime soon. I don't think the Engineers will really kill Orion either, since he does have his ward save. And that makes him just an absolute beast in combat, but I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong, as the Sylvan Knights do manage to do fall. There are still 5 left though, and I have routed off a single Engineer. Now this is good, but Orion He's still a very chunky guy, and he does not respond to orders very well. He's gonna get hit in the face by Belugar, and another hit could actually kill him. He's at 100 life. The engineer may very well just pop a shot into him and kill him right now. But I think Orion will be able to survive. Let's go ahead and disrupt the engineer by trying to knock him down with the spell there. And pulling Orion away to safety. There we go. Sylvan Knights are now going to dive in onto the engineer. And Orion is going to dodge like a madman to avoid as much damage as he can. The single Sylvan Knight, just an absolute hero there, knocking down the engineer. As Orion dives on into him. Now with a Bloodlust. So we definitely don't want him to die. Let's boost up his charge bonus too. The other engineer does finally rout. And Orion, the beast, what an absolute beast, manages to survive through all of that, getting the other engineer. I think yeah, my opponent calls it GG, well played. Yes. Yes. And Orion, a surprisingly decent option against Master Engineers. Jeez. What a beast. He didn't even get that much value. But in the end, he fared well for himself. My range units did well. All my melee units did well. Basically everything paying for themselves. And actually, I think the Beastcaster with an Eagle Summon is actually really good. When you consider how much Winds of Magic you save, it's pretty amazing. I might actually try that out more often. Even though healing on Sylvan Knights is very, very good. We routed off all the Bugman's Rangers, yeah. It was still pretty scary though. There were a few Iron Drake shots that nearly ended me there. But that's going to be it. And let's see. Now remember, Human Boys Tournament does start basically right now. I will see if I can actually check in. Yes, and I just barely managed to check in time. Sweet. But I'm pretty tired right now, so I'm just going to play this tournament casually. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on in to watch. GG's. Very fun viewer suggestions, too. And enjoy the ladder. It's getting a lot of updates.